Good day, good Easter Sunday, the 17th of April 2022, the year of our Creator. Welcome to this unannounced, spontaneous live stream, backed by dope demand. I've returned back to the drawing board. I have a special presentation, one of three for you today. I've got this short video planned for you. I will be coming on the microphone, on the video in a minute, but just for now, we'll use the microphone. I have an explicit t-shirt on that's got some curse words on it. It's in theme with today's show, so just be warned that you will be seeing that shortly. The title of today's cast is there for you. Let me share this in all the usual places, and we shall begin. I'm going to do a second video after this one entitled The Rule Against Perpetuity. Somewhat late, but that's coming for you very, very soon. And then tonight, myself, Kevin, and any available admins will be hosting and streaming a live show for you, focused around Easter, the resurrection, new beginnings, all that kind of jazz. So bear with me while I just share this around into splspro.com, Facebook, Telegram, and I will come on the camera. I will turn the camera on and we shall begin. This video is back here by popular demand. It's not going to be a long one, but I've listened to what you requested and required. There seems to be areas of confusion around this title rights, DVLA, and if you are in America, across the pond, the DMV. Okay, so wow, it's busy. That's both our Telegram chats, Facebook SPLs and splspro.com have this link shared. Alright, let me just turn down some of the noise. And get yourself a pen, make some notes. Thank you for Gansder's and Jerry's viewership today. I hope you're well. I'll be popping into the admins to wish you all a happy bank holiday weekend very soon, Brother Gansders. And we shall begin with today's show entitled Equitable and Legal Title Rights to Property. And for the purposes of this show and cast, it is regarding the Driver Vehicle Licensing Agency. And if you're across the pond, we're going to encapsulate the principles still the same in essence of the Driver Motor Vehicle Agency and respective of the Ministry of Transportation, or the Ministry of Transport as they are called. So I'm going to share something on the screen now for you all to be seeing, and I will be turning on the camera as well, but let me just get this up first, and then I will come in and say hello. Let me start the video. There we go. I did warn you, I have a bit of a extreme profanity. I think it suits today's theme and show. Apologies if it offends, but we've done gently, nicey for a long time, and I think in certain circumstances we need to treat the legal establishment and its lack of first-hand knowledge and non-disclosed agreements with the due contempt that it deserves. So I think that this non-branded but statement t-shirt is quite fitting for the theme of things, not just for today's topic, but in general, the legalese language and the misconstrued relationships that we all find ourselves in. So some of you may be familiar with this United Kingdom registration certificate document. To find this, I typed in V5C Okay, and you will, let's enlarge it so it's easy to see. It's a generic blank one. It's not breaching any data or giving you any of my data, estates data and so forth, but you'll see there on the screen the languages used, the style of the language, all capitals, block capital text, mixed text on a page, lines, the four corner rule. All right, we've got here on the underneath the V5C and the V5C there at the top, you know, and the registration number of particular vehicle would go in. Underneath it says this document is not proof of ownership, and that's in all block capital text, aka sign language, and it shows who is responsible for registering and taxing the vehicle. It's a United Kingdom document issued by the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Agency. Okay, and it's also got European Community underneath there, and then if we scroll down it will have the registered keeper's details in that box there and certain other applicable details for that. Okay, so a lot of you will be familiar with this. I will have seen this issued by the Driver Vehicle Licensing Agency, which is an executive agency of the Department for Transport. We have a Ministry of Transport. We have a Transport Secretary, which at the present moment is Mr. Grant Shapps. Okay, so those are all the particulars that you need to be familiar with. Okay, enough of that. And I'm going to begin reading a document that I'm working on. Alright, so I don't need to screen share that now. This is a proofread of what I have for you, and I hope you will enjoy what's going on here. I mean, it's crashed. Wait there, let me reopen it. The trouble with being live, David. So the title, DVLA, Legal Title Rights and Equitable Title Rights. If you are unsure of what legal title rights are and equitable title rights, then there is, let me just get into this. There are videos where I have explained that. You are free to search it yourself independently, of course, and I have some videos on my channel which I can actually screen share for you and show you, and then I've put the links into this document itself. Okay, so this is me attempting in my own way to inform the DVLA here in the UK about property title rights being transferred. So the DVLA call reference private property transfer of titles and assets. And for those of you that are interested right now in that, I will put that into the live chat here. I want to say welcome to Stephen CM, a very special hello to you for your support, and I'm going to add moderator to you, Tony and Jerry. There's one link there that's interesting for you, and the second link, DVLA agency relationship correction, and I want you to read the video description there as well. I need to put in a disclaimer that I'm not giving any legal advice here. I never do. If you need legal advice, I'd go and see a legal practitioner of law. Alright, okay, and that's all I'm going to say on that matter. There is no legal advice for you here today. You would need to go and seek a practitioner of the legal society, the law society, for that. This is just amongst those two videos that I've given you and the PDF which is in our forum for you to look at regarding GDPR data and my efforts so far to correct the misconstrued relationships with the Driver Vehicle Licensing Agency regarding my equitable or the equitable title rights. It might not be myself in this instance due to the way that relationships have been formed, and title rights. So transfer of ownership is something else you need to be aware of, and how to prove ownership at law. So we've gone through my previous video so far, and we're going to talk about new vehicles, and I'm also going to encapsulate if you buy a second-hand vehicle, automobile, property, and then you send off the yellow section, I believe it is, I'm not sure what number, of the V5 keepership document. I've showed you the front page of it, which explains, it shows you that this certificate is not proof of ownership. There are 4 pages in total for the V5 keepership document. So we shall begin. All new vehicles, cars, automobiles, vans, motorbikes, motorhomes, etc., when manufactured, have a certificate of title. The title proof of ownership of said property is known as a manufacturer's statement of origin or a certificate of origin. This is what we would call, for this presentation and example, the foundation original title of the automobile. We're going to termify vehicles, cars, vans, motorbikes, motorhomes, etc. as automobiles for now. And that certificate of origin would be known as a title deed. And to prove at law levels in courts of England and Wales, courts of equity, that you have title rights to property, one would need to be able to provide the sufficient legal or even lawful proof, irrefutable proof, that you have the title rights to that property. Normally, nominally, it would be expressed using proof of purchase, proof of sale, bills of sale, or a title deed of some kind, land, any property, house, after mortgage has been completed, or sale. You might not mortgage, but title deeds are required. Deeds are required. Titles to be proven at law that you have equitable title rights to property. So the foundation original title of an automobile, when it's manufactured, a certificate of origin, and that's the title deed. So the legal automobile registration process, V5C, that I've just shown you, involves one signing that said document, the form, thus allowing the dealer of a newly manufactured automobile to act under, it seems like, I would be certain of, power of attorney. This process is also the same when one purchases a second-hand automobile and fills in a V5C new keeper section. So we're going to talk about new vehicles, new automobiles for now. So the certificate of origin. The dealer, or sometimes the second-hand seller, then sends the title certificate of origin to DVLA, DMV, and they seemingly will take a copy of the original certificate and destroy the original, again if it's a new automobile. Otherwise, if you're buying a second-hand vehicle, transfer of new keepership is performed for a second-hand automobile from a dealer or even via a private sale. It is custom and practice for the seller to require the buyer to fill in for legal title transfer, and so any applicable correspondence in the form of letters and notices and charges go to the new purchaser, not owner but purchaser. So a copy of the manufacturer's statement of origin or certificate of origin is not a valid document for proof of ownership, as only original title deeds are sufficient proof of ownership. And what is transpiring here is that one has unknowingly allowed for the transfer of title rights of the property to take place. Keyword unknowingly, non-disclosed, without first-hand knowledge. The state or government seemingly have taken the equitable title rights of said property, leaving you with the legal title rights of said property. Equitable title and legal titles are very important to know and for you to get acquainted with. If you need help on that or further assistance, then we'll answer the questions and show you proof and give you further materials to look at should you need. Legal title is conveyed using the term, for the purposes of this video and the topic subject matter we're talking about, registered keeper, or aka keepership is the actual term of phrase. I'll tell you about Admiralty, Maritime, Row, Mans, the law of sea, on land law. I've done some interesting posts recently you may have picked up upon regarding piracy and pirates themselves, so the piracy Everywhere there is lots of C's, you need to be careful of the agency and the C's that we are seemingly interacting with via our agent in commerce, our person. So registered keeper, keepership, legal title is conveyed using the term registered keeper that you'll be familiar with, and keepership is the actual term of phrase. Registered keeper then equals the legal title, property rights, ergo trustee, because you have the legal title. And in a trust, when you look at the settlor, the beneficiary and the trustee, when the transfer of property is conveyed via a valid trust, the settlor conveys the legal title to the trustee, and the equitable title is held by the beneficiary. Equity regards the beneficiary as the true owner. So owner of property, that would be the one that has the equitable title rights, that can prove they have the equitable title rights, that can prove that they are the owner. The owner or settlor if property is held on trust as private trust property. So the registered keeper has legal title, property rights, and that would be the trustee. The owner of the property, the equitable title rights for this instance would be the DVLA, and the Ministry of Transport by extension of the DVLA is the owner or settlor if property is held on a trust as private trust property. Now, if this is a newly manufactured automobile, and since the original documentation has been destroyed, that has now left you with the property title rights of registered keeper, legal title, trustee. That's for when you purchase a brand spanking new vehicle, and obviously automobiles, people are doing so looking at transferring from combustible engines to electric vehicle or hybrid automobiles. I actually call it an iron horse or a pleasure craft because it's private property, but for legal commercial purposes, vehicle, automobile. Since the original certificate of origin documentation has been destroyed, there is now no way of proving legal ownership in the future. Or is there? We'll come back to that. One has registered the automobile as a commercial vehicle, subject to the Ministry of Transport and respective government agency known as the Driver Vehicle Licensing Agency or the Driver Motor Vehicle Agency. This is one reason why the police or agents of the Crown, traffic officers or state troopers use the terminology vehicle. The police and agents of the Crown speak commanding the legalese language, and it sounds, writes and looks like Oxford or American English, but it is in fact a separate language that is foreign to England and America. It's a foreign tongue. The implied meanings and definitions of the legalese language are not found within the Oxford and English Dictionary or the American English Dictionary. They are found within Black's Law Dictionary. This is why the police and agents use the term vehicle or possibly transportation instead of iron horse, pleasure craft, property, etc. And since the equitable title rights are now owned by government agencies and the property is classified as a commercial commodity, machinery, thus the operator is legally required under legislation, the Road Traffic Management Act for instance, to have sufficient training and hold and possess a license, a driver's license, or for sovereigns that are around and initiates of self and law, we possess a driver. We present our driver for such reasons as we implement the instrumentation. And while we're working on remedy to be able to travel under common law, and when we say common law, I mean the laws of England in a non-commercial private capacity. And I'm working on that with the DVLA Chief Executive Officer Julie Leonard, and also moving my way towards the Directorate of the Executive Administration in Office known as the UK Government, Mr Grant Shapps, the Ministry of Transport, the Secretary of Transport and so forth. I haven't completed my mission yet, but I am on the way. So it is legally required to have sufficient training and hold or possess a license or have a driver's license or to possess a driver to legally and commercially operate said machinery in public commercial intercourse. Since the government, by extension of their appointed agency, the DVLA or the DMV, now believe they own the property via equitable title rights to the property, they are legally able to seize their property and in extreme cases impound or destroy it. If the equitable title rights were in fact held by yourself and or the property was also held on a trust as a trust property, private property, an asset, a res in a trust, then this would be classified at law as theft of property by the agency and government, the Ministry of Transportation. The Ministry of Transportation or Ministry of Transport seem to be trading as DVLA and DMV. So how can one claim and prove equitable title rights to said property at law and undo this deceptive act of fraud and theft? Well, I'm glad you asked me that. We here at Indiglo and SPLSpro.com have found a way to restore one's equitable title rights, recognisable or recognised and enforceable using the law of England and Wales and courts of equity. Despite the fact that first-hand knowledge is not given at the time of said processes being committed by yourself and or sellers, if it's second-hand or if it's new or second-hand sale, purchase. Despite the fact that first-hand knowledge and full disclosure is not given at the time of obtaining one's driver or driver's licence, that would then render all agreements null and void ab initio. So our private foundation and educational trust needs your kind and generous support for us to be able to continue producing our lawful work in these areas and to be able to carry out our extensive research in these matters that are indeed, I'm sure you'll all agree, of public interest and that affects millions of good, honest, honourable, authentic, sovereign men around the realm. I would invite you and like you to visit our homepage and read about our mission and consider pledging some credits to help us, or even better, join our private lawful community and help our family expand and obtain sufficient resources for us to continue on this line of work, doing God's work on our sacred contract. I believe this topic is of utmost public interest and importance. There is more information on this subject matter to follow via our private bespoke forums within SPLSpro.com. For many of you, this information will be pertinent enough for you to be able to go and research and make the necessary corrections to these misconstrued relationships on your own. But for a great many, we recognise that you might need your hand holding and see proof of claim, substance over form, and work with us via our private domain. Essentially is where you will get the most benefit from. We have clean hands, so we have a Facebook public domain that you can join for free, and Kevin manages that. You click the blue F on our homepage to find that. We have an open public Telegram chat, and we have a private exclusive Telegram chat for our private initiates, supporters, members and beneficiaries of our foundation educational private trust. I want to thank you all for watching, and thank you to all those that are present with us right now and that are supporting our work. I want to say much love to one and all and give you a big shiny fist bump. So now I just want to recap as I scroll through it and talk about anything that pops out that I think I might, I wanted to read it in its entirety, proofread it, go with the flow, and then I want to go back on it now and just highlight, some areas. So 2 areas have been mentioned here today. Those that are fortunate enough to be able to go out and purchase a brand new asset, property, vehicle, pleasure craft, automobile, iron horse. Okay, and not many of us, I recognise, even including myself, have ever done so and would ever be in that position in the future. I doubt. It's highly economical for you to try to go out and get a second-hand, low mileage, well looked after, checked, validated, second-hand vehicle, horsey, pleasure craft, okay, transportation, and save thousands of pounds in doing so. When I talk about seas and boat people and Romans and admiralty and maritime, transportation, you've got the word in between the ports, you need to be transport between the ports, you have a passport, to pass between the ports. You have the road that is made of cement because it's meant to be the sea. The traffic light electronic signal systems were at some point, and probably maybe still are, controlled by a company called Siemens. So again, you know, it's all very relative, and these things are hidden in plain sight. And when you are buying a second-hand horsey and you are doing it privately through non-commercial avenues, through someone that you know, a friend, a relative, whatever, then it is custom and practice for the DVLA to know who the new you would think owner, you would believe you're the owner, is, but you're not the owner when you are doing said title rights exchanges unknowingly, non-disclosed, without first-hand knowledge. Now there's an area there under law that needs to be looked at, and that can be revoked and rescinded and corrected. As I've said, I have videos on my channel already that I'm going to screen share with you now, and just show you again in case you've picked up late. That's the telephone call to the DVLA. It's only a 26-30 minute video. Reference private property transfer of titles assets. So I've actually recorded the call with the agent from the DVLA and explained that since the registration of the keepership, when I purchased the Iron Horse from a second-hand car dealer, the V5 registration new keepership was filled in by the dealer, mandatory. There was no getting out of it, and my driver's details were put in there. And since that point of registration, there has been a private transfer of title rights and property. That video there that I've posted in the link with the chat, it's hosted on Indiglo. Okay, my primary channel is there for you to listen to. I try my best to do the right, just right and proper, honourable, clean hands business that needs to be done. That is a very interesting call in itself. Secondly, I've put a lot of work into a document, a PDF document. It's available for you to look at. Again, it's no legal advice, but it's just my endeavours to correct these misconstrued relationships. That's available in our public Facebook group. It's in our literature library, resource vault, and SPLS Pro, and I believe I've put it in our Telegram groups as well. Video there, DVLA, agency relationship correction, and there is a disclaimer there in the video description. It's hosted on Indiglo, and you would need to have a look at that as well. Okay, and if we go to SPLS Pro, and I go to the top and locate our bespoke forums, literature library, resource library here. We have a repository for you, 435 documents so far. Let me look at the table view because that will give me more items to look at a time. There it is, DVLA DMV notices PDF, 7 months ago, 27th of September 21, 123 downloads. There's lots of particular instruments in here for your consideration, and our homegrown grassroots publications, maxims, axioms and precepts of commercial law, maxims of law. It's interesting for you to have a look at. Court rules of the games at court, getting to the heart of the matter. We have lots of acts and legislation here that would need to be double checked, but they haven't had any amendments to them. But for your convenience, we have got Criminal Justice Act, UK Justices of the Peace, Administration of Justice, various renditions, editions, revise it. One acts that have been revised as well. There's quite a lot of repetition, but bills of exchange, unfair contract terms. There's lots, 435 for you to have a look at there. Let me go back to the document in itself as well, just to keep skim through. Then I'll go to your comments. So we talk about title rights within trusts, as I've mentioned within this presentation. Equitable title held by the beneficiary, legal title held by the trustee, set law, splitting titles, to put items, assets into held on trust You know, as a res in a private trust, the settlor would need to be the one that had title, equitable title rights initially to the property, ownership, aka. Alright, so this isn't exclusively for DMV, DVLA, and iron horses. This applies throughout, you know, trusts, property, titles, and moving from public to private. So I have tried my best so far to hold to account Julie Leonard, and I'm having to enforce everything through various channels. I'm having to hold her to account. She's committed misconduct of a public office, she's disclaimed her duties, and ignorance of the facts of the matter are at hand here. If any of you have obtained, you know, rights and titles and exemption from public commercial intercourse, then I would very much like to hear from you privately. Email contact@splspro.com. You go to our home pages, there's contact options for you there. Give me a message via Telegram or even via Kevin and our Facebook trust. And I would like to mention that before you try to go out and exercise your common law right to travel unhindered, freely, and I'm not going to get into all the terminology now, but you have certain rights there, unalienable rights privately, that you are able to do. Before you try to endeavour to challenge the legal Templar Law Society officers, troopers and etc., what I personally recommend that you should consider doing is protecting said property. Don't leave it in the public before you go out to battle. As with everything that we've come to see and do, what you should consider doing is expressing and moving property from the public to the private, serving officers, generals, secretaries, ministers, notifying, doing the paperwork, managing the estate administration comes in various forms. But initially, before you go out to battle, put on some armour, protect yourself, remove the public liabilities from yourself before you try to put on insignias instead of number plates and travel around freely, as I will argue is your right to do, is our right to do, non-commercially and privately. But you wouldn't want to risk losing property that's in the public domain, as property that is public is subject to seizure, fines, fees, levies and forfeitures. If you haven't done any paperwork, you haven't noticed higher levels of government and respective agencies about your intent and wishes and requirements, then when you go out into the public and you attempt to challenge the legal system, the officers, troopers, traffic officers, constables, etc., then you know, you would be well versed, and it would make common sense for you to have all this necessary supporting documentation and paperwork, whether you've been successful or not, before you go out and openly try to exercise your unalienable common law rights too. Okay, so that message there stems across a broad amount of our everyday lives, all of your, which is why we talk about a last will and testament, which is why we give you a last will and testament template for free when you choose to join our private community, and we inform you that powers of attorney may need to be assigned as well. We talk about claim of right, claim of life, notice of intent, understanding, ecclesiastical deed polls, birth certificate, canons, admiralty, maritime, unidroit, Liber Code, you know, Lex Mercatoria, legislation, bills, acts, statutes, but primarily we are pioneers of sovereignty and regarding relationships, misconstrued relationships, constructive resulting, implied trust, unconscionable behaviour, and we focus on equity and trust law. Okay, and that comes in many forms: legal, lawful, ecclesiastical, biblical, Abrahamic, Mosaic, and etc. So we work our way through this and we try to give you what you require, and there's been a great deal of confusion still with regards to how to correct these misconstrued relationships, and I've done a lot of work myself, lawful work, and I'm doing what I believe is right. If you have any other ways or any other information, or you believe I've got something wrong or we've got something wrong, I appreciate your corrections or your feedback. Only by committing mistakes do we actually learn and edit and correct and go through our continuous improvement, within our duties and obligations to one another. Each one is to teach one, and we have a duty, upon this sacred contract, whilst we're looking for a universal, non-sectarian remedy for all with regards to exodus from this legal madness. And we're doing rather well. We've got a lot of information, a lot of good souls. I want to give a shout out to Andy and Susan in Shaky Wakey, Wakefield. I want to give a shout out to all of our admins, and I want to shout out all of the scribes, all of the members of this channel, the supporters, all that are in our private domain as supporters and as such by extension beneficiaries of our Foundation Educational Trust, all of the Facebook interaction and posts and souls there that reside in the public, our public Telegram interaction and souls, our private souls that have joined via the private Telegram, those that have embarked and started to look at equity and trust and that have donated to get onto our equity and trust Jedi orientation course. That's about to restart within the next week. I've got a lot of admin to look at and emails, messages, etc. to get back to you on. And yes, there's been a heightened interest in these times of 2022, especially with regards to wanting to learn about property, titles, right, equity, trust, and how to move forward in that practically, pragmatically, logically, honourably. And we will be looking at restarting the Jedi orientation into equity and trust. So if you've messaged me or you've emailed or you've asked, those will be recommencing very, very soon. My next video today is going to be on the rules of perpetuity, the rule of perpetuity. And then there's going to be a video later tonight with myself, Kevin, and any available admins entitled Highway to Heaven. And we're going to focus on a seasonal bank holiday weekend special with regards to Easter, rebirth, new beginnings, Christ-like consciousness. And I'm going to give you some explicit, concise information, and we're going to talk openly about the time that is at hand, the money changes, usury, banking, crucifixion, rebirth, and I'm going to give you some privileged information there later tonight from about 8:30, maybe 9 p.m. Enjoy the sun, enjoy one another, enjoy your families, make time, give love, feel love, and I'll thank you very much. I want to keep this video short and concise and relevant. I'll be back in a few moments and there'll be a second live cast regarding the rule of perpetuity to do with trusts, and we'll see you later on. So, big fist bump, much love, and I will say ciao for now. Thank you very much.